everybody. This evening I have to report out some of the state assessment data that we accumulated in the last school year. And it's actually in school law and school code that once we receive results, once results have been received by the school and disseminated with the parents, there's a window of time where at some point the superintendent and his or her designee will have to deliver the results to the public. So tonight, I'm talking about the New Jersey graduation proficiency assessments that were administered this past spring to our junior class members. And at the end of the presentation, I will have results for our WIDA access test takers, which is our English language learners. So if you'll allow me to indulge. If you recall, the class of 22 was the first class to take the NJ GPA. At the time, it was determined that that would be a way of measuring whether the students were graduation ready. And in the spring of 22, Woodridge High School, along with all the other high schools in the state, administered the assessment. And shortly thereafter, it was announced that it didn't count. It was a field test and did not make it a graduation requirement. The class of 22 did not have an assessment requirement for graduation. However, the students took the test. The tests were assessed and graded. Results were given back to the district, and I was able to give a report last year. And for the majority of those test takers last year, as juniors in the class of 22, this was their first state assessment of any kind in quite some time, since COVID. And the results were less than stellar. Now, since we last met, the state has changed what is a passing score. Last year, a passing score was a scale score of 750. This year, the scale score requirement is 725. When you see the results, you'll see where the lower scale score might have helped us and the state in some areas. And you'll also notice that there are some areas where we didn't need that help. We did so well, we would have passed with a scale score of 750. So, when we get these results, the district administrators, more so the high school, they use the results to review curriculum and programming, identify potential focus areas in preparation for the spring 2024 administration of NJ GPA to students expected to graduate in the class of 25. We had 68 valid scores reported for Woodridge this past spring. 100% of our eligible 11th graders participated in the mathematics NJ GPA, whereas 98.5% of eligible 11th grade students participated in the English language arts NJ GPA. And what the district has already received is detailed reports regarding a ranking of each test question in terms of which was hardest, which was easiest, which curriculum strand they were related to, how we compared as a school in answering those questions as compared to the state. And our administrative team and eventually our teachers will break down that information. And of course, the test takers from last spring will be seniors this year. And that type of information can be shared with senior level math and language arts teachers, and more so the present teachers of juniors come September, language arts and math. They also can get that data and examine how they have programmed in the past, and perhaps they need to make some changes in order to address certain curricular areas that were deemed as being lower performing in the most recent assessment. It's important to note that NJ GPA is designed to measure the extent to which students are graduation ready in English, language arts, and math. Graduation readiness is reported separately for each content component. The ELA component is aligned to grade 10 standards. So juniors took this assessment, and the assessment was based upon grade 10 or sophomore English language art standards. The mathematics component is aligned to Algebra 1 and geometry. So the majority of our juniors in the past spring, now to become seniors, took a math assessment based upon their knowledge of Algebra 1 and geometry concepts, even though they were sitting in a math class that was more advanced, Algebra 2, statistics, pre-calculus, calculus, etc. Now, students who take but do not meet the minimum required score on each component of the assessment will have the opportunity to receive additional support and may take the following steps. And again, this will be the first year where this is in place. The option to retake the ELA and/or math components of the NJGPA in the following summer or fall. The option to meet a designated cut score from a menu of substitute competency tests supplied by the state, or to complete a portfolio of Keto. As I mentioned earlier, the minimum scale score requirement for both content areas to be graduation ready is 725, whereas it was 750 in the 2022 field test. So as I listed our results, because we only have 2 years, I wanted to list the results of the previous class in the first administration, statewide and locally, and compared to the current seniors in our school come September. For example, English Language Arts. Last year, the class of 23, as juniors, tested 27.9% graduation ready in English Language Arts. Compared to the state, that was 39.4%. This year, 91% of the class of 24 met graduation expectations. The state had 80.5% of all test takers meet. Not yet graduation ready, of course, is going to align appropriately, whereas last year we had 72.1% of our students deemed not yet graduation ready. That number this year, for a different set of students, is 9.0. And then you can see not yet graduation ready. Now, English Language Arts was the area that I mentioned earlier where our average scale score was in the 770s, well above the 725 established by the state. In mathematics, while there is improvement, it is comparable to the state, but we obviously have more work to get taken underway. Mathematics, in this past class of 24, 58.8% were deemed graduation ready, as compared to last year, 33.3%. Statewide, 55% this year, 49.5% last year. So last year we were well below the state, and this year we are just above the state. And then, of course, the corresponding numbers for not yet graduation ready. You want to see those numbers get smaller, and these numbers become larger. I'm obliged to break out in subgroups any population that has more than 10 students in it. So female, male, white, Hispanic or Latino, students without an IEP, those who are economically disadvantaged, those who are not economically disadvantaged, and those who are not English language learners. The reason why you don't see IEP yes, those numbers in that class were fewer than 10 students. Same thing in ELL. Those numbers are fewer than 10 students. In mathematics, the same data, the same subgroups. And when you look back and see where we are this year by subgroup, female, male, white 100%, Hispanic 80%, non-IEP students 94%, those who are economically disadvantaged, 63% passed, those who are not, 96.4% passed, and then ELL, and then the same for mathematics. Now, as a source of pride, as I mentioned earlier, our average scale score in English Language Arts graduation proficiency for the class of 24 was 778, which was greater this year than the state's average scale score of 765, and a passing score of 725. Our average scale score in mathematics graduation proficiency for the class of 24 was 734, which was equivalent to the state's average scale score of 734, and above the new scale cut score of 725. As we look at our mathematics, both from a junior year NJGPA window, and then move backwards in NJSLA Geometry, NJSLA Algebra 1, Math 8, etc., the numbers in math Math 8 and moving up into geometry in the state are a great deal lower than language arts. That's not only a Woodridge problem. And one of the things that we know for certain, the students who took the math this past year, NJGPA, these were the same students who received Algebra 1 instruction, virtually or in a hybrid model, and were never tested by the state in grade 8 NJSLA or NJSLA Algebra 1. So the data points that we normally would have were not in existence at that time because of COVID. Now, as I mentioned earlier, things we do, we analyze the test items. We see where we are in our curriculum in terms of pacing and perhaps need to spend more time in our weaker areas or address them in a different way. Perhaps we're spending too much time in areas of strength demonstrated by the entire class. We'll share those strategies with both the 2023 test takers as well as those who test in the future and, of course, with their teachers. In the future, as long as this assessment remains, we'll be able to draw parallels between NJGPA and previously administered NJSLA. We identify and address gaps in curriculum and instruction. We activate prior knowledge and review previously learned skills. Now I'm transitioning to WIDA. WIDA Access for ELLs, spring 2023. These are test takers who qualify as English language learners in kindergarten through grade 12. The chart that I'm showing you is a breakdown of students in the various degrees of accomplishment for for WIDA Access. And if you look, in order for a student to exit from the ELL program, they have to achieve a score of 4.5 or greater on this assessment, along with a variety of multiple measures. It's not solely based upon this score. So we're looking for students to be in this 4 range and higher. That'll tell us that they're passing this assessment. And based upon the other factors, perhaps they'll exit. It's also important to know that when a student exits ELL, they are still recorded as an ELL student. They might not receive ELL services, but they're still tracked, and they can re-enter into the ELL program should there be some sort of difficulty down the road. You'll also notice some grade clusters have an N. That means there were fewer than 10 students in those clusters. Now, starting in August of this past year, many areas of the state code have officially changed in the area formerly known as ELL, English Language Learner, and will now be known as ML, Multilingual Learner. Districts have to revise their policies regarding the former ELL program. Preschool students can now be identified as multilingual learners, those who have a primary language other than English. Curriculum will need to be revised, and we'll have to have more widespread professional development for all staff on ELD standards and how to provide appropriate modifications and accommodations for multilingual learners. Now, the one thing I want to impress upon the public and upon the board, when I started as a principal at the Doyle School in 2009, our ESL population was 1 family of 4 girls. Now, we've gotten to the point today, we now have 53 total students as of today. That's not including any kindergartner that we're going to screen in September to determine whether they're eligible for this program or not. And if you look at the progress and the growth from 15 to 19 to 21 to 22 to 23, what I would like for you to notice is the percentages that are in the high school, grades 7 through 12, as compared to K to 6. Because for the longest time, the high school had the greater number of ELLs based upon students moving in from Moonachie, students coming in from another country at the beginning of the school year having not attended a school in New Jersey at the high school level. So for the longest time, we always had more students in the high school. And as far as employing staff, we might have had a part-time teacher at one point for the high school, and eventually that extended to a full-time teacher. And now we're to the point where the board this evening, hopefully, will vote for adding an additional ML teacher to fill the needs that's growing at Doyle. Because as you can notice, not only have our numbers increased from 20 in 2015 to 53 today, again, without having assessed a single of the 125 kindergarten students. We're now at a 50-50 split. We now have just as many students in the K to 6 grade level as we do in the 7 to 12 in terms of multilingual learners. Now, the good news is that this year, for example, we had many students in the program for the first time achieve a passing score in this assessment. We have some students that will remain in the program, but we're taking in more students now at an earlier grade level. Now, if we do our job, if the program's efficient, then we really shouldn't see the students that enter kindergarten identified as an ML. The hope is by second or third grade, they've achieved the passing score, and it's a matter of taking a look at the rest of the measures to determine whether they can exit the program. But that is something that obviously is impacting the Doyle School. The intermediate school has the least students in the district, also the fewest ELL students. And the high school population is pretty much always the same in terms of numbers, but it's grown from time to time. But that's a challenge for the district from a staffing perspective that the board is going to address this evening. It also plays into our space issues at Doyle School because obviously a 50-50 split, we're talking at least 25, 26 students in the Doyle building that require ELL instruction or ML instruction. That requires a classroom and a teacher and equipment and supplies. And that concludes, I should note, because it didn't come out very well, in the past year, we had 11 of 50 students, or 22% of our ELL students, K to 12, will exit this program based upon their score and an assessment of their multiple measures. As compared to last year, we had 6 of 46 students, about 13% of all ELL students reached the target score and then exited because of multiple measures. So we've had some improvement. The majority of it is in the lower level because, again, the quantity of students in the younger grade levels is growing, and they're the ones that we're seeing exit first. So I would anticipate, as we add more staff to the program, to see these numbers continue to improve. That concludes my report. Are there any questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none. Mr. Nieves, I return it back to the board. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tony. Trustees, comments, questions?
That's encouraging. So thank
You good? All right. Superintendent's report. Should have just stayed down there.
Now they see my better side. Good evening again. Before I begin my report, I just want to officially welcome our new school board administrator, Mr. Carl Morelli. Mr. Morelli, welcome. Any words for us?
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the board, Mr. Albro, superintendent, for giving me the opportunity to join your district, and I'm looking forward to a long reign here with your district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I wish to open this evening's report with some notices regarding the upcoming school year. Staff are returning next week on Tuesday, September 5th through Thursday, September 7th, engaged in professional development and getting their classrooms ready for instruction. The district will open its doors to welcome our new school year for students on Friday, September 8th. There'll be a one-session day at all 3 schools with no lunch being served. There is no before or after care on the first day of school. We will be welcoming over 1,307 students back to our district schools, in addition to the 56 students or so that attend out-of-district placements. Building administrators have shared welcome back letters with their respective school families. The school buildings are sparkling, to say the least, and many thanks to Mr. Makinich and all the members of the Building and Grounds Department for getting the buildings ready. It's a bit of a juggling act as we have our summer education programs, We have recreation going on, but once it all settles down and clears out, the building we're very well taken care of. Before care and after care registration is currently taking place at the Doyle and the intermediate school. All payments this year will be made online. Lunch payments will begin the year in the form of checks and/or cash payments. Unfortunately, real-time will no longer process payments from certain banks, and we can no longer offer that service via real-time. The district is investigating another online payment option and will release details once finalized. Reminder to everybody in the room, everybody at home, free and reduced lunch eligibility forms are available in the parent portal on real-time. We encourage all families to complete these forms, as some of the income thresholds have changed since last year, and it is possible for more families to receive these services. A reminder that these types of services must be applied for annually, and your eligibility does not simply carry over into the next school year. Reduced lunches will still be free for those who attain eligibility for the program this year, according to the federal government. Regarding tonight's agenda, the board is adopting or approving all of its out-of-district special education placements this evening. The board is readopting the district curriculum, as well as the curriculum for 2 new high school semester elective courses. In personnel, we have a variety of appointments taking place for school-level committees, extra and co-curricular activities, and filling vacant positions. We are accepting the resignation of our high school principal, Mr. Soro, and we thank him for his almost 2 years of service to the school. We wish him very well. We're also accepting the resignation of Ms. Perkovic, who manages our payroll and benefits functions in the business office. We wish to thank her for her service as well, wishing her good luck. We hope to approve a few student-teacher experiences during the upcoming school year. We welcome those students to our district. With Mr. Soro's aforementioned resignation, I have recommended to the board that they appoint Mrs. Sylvia Ragucio Ruiz as the new principal of the Woodridge Junior Senior High School. I'm delighted to have her lead the school building. I know that she, along with Mr. Sinclair, will move the school building and its programs forward in the upcoming school year. At this time, we will not be replacing Mrs. Ragucio Ruiz's former position as high school assistant principal, but we are moving Ms. Kelly Dudsack from our part-time supervisor of curriculum instruction to a full-time role in the same position. At the time of this meeting, the district is advertising the following vacancies. We have an anticipated opening for a school psychologist. We have an opening for a part-time custodian, 20 hours per week with no benefits. We have an opening for a part-time lunchroom attendant at the Doyle School, 10 hours per week, no benefits. We also have an opening for an administrative assistant to oversee payroll benefits in our business office. All of these vacancies are posted on our school district website and human resources in the AppleTrack system. A new modular unit has been delivered to the Doyle School and electricity has been installed. The unit will consist of 3 private spaces for speech and occupational therapy, as well as an area for our 3 Doyle School CST case managers. We will be installing the fire alarm and the phone and data line shortly. The modular has a bathroom and 6 or 7 window units that supply air conditioning as well as heat. The placement of this modular will put that parking lot off limits for staff parking, and staff parking will be reconfigured. In closing, and I'll probably say this again in our September meeting, as we approach the new school year, please be on the lookout for an email from my office with additional information. Please remember to exercise patience, care, and consideration for others as we open the school year with regards to traffic, both auto and pedestrian, drop-off lanes, etc. That concludes my report, Mr. Nieves.
Thank you. Trustees, comments, questions?
Thank you.
Mr. I just want to say thank you and congratulations to Ms. Ragucio Ruiz. We know that you're going to do a good job and look forward to seeing you.
Good. Well, I was going to congratulate, but I wanted to vote on it first. Oh, come on.
We're glad to have you moving up there. All right.
I didn't say anything. Take that back.
The only other thing, our boys actually, football game this past weekend beat Wallkill. I don't know what the final score was, but I know it was 13-0 at half, and they actually playing Butler this Thursday up in Butler. So congratulations to them. Good way to start the season. Approval of minutes. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved minutes of the following meeting, executive and work session, July 17th, 2023. Can I get a first? Mr. Garvin, second, Mr. Fallon. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Garvin,
Yes.
Mr. O'Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Nieves.
Yes. All right, anything for new business? Nothing. All right, so I guess we're not going to change up new school year, same process. I'm going to read through the resolutions. Why break? Okay. All right. Curriculum and instruction, approval of student teachers, classroom observation and field experience internship. Approval of student teachers, classroom observation and field experience internship. Approval to terminate out of district placement transportation. Approval out of district placement. Approval of adoption of new curriculum. Approval of out of district placements. Approval of out of district placements again. Annual approval of Woodridge School District curriculum. Annual readoption of the staff evaluation templates for the 23-24 school year. Approval of agreement for professional services, Savvis Learning Company. Approval of agreement for professional development inspired instruction LLC, and approval of evaluation request. That is it for curriculum instruction. Personnel, approval of appointment care personnel 23-24. Approval of the high school co-curricular appointments for 23-24 school year. Approval of volunteer athletic photographer. Approval of 23-24 school safety teams. Approval of 23-24 high school safety teams. Approval of the 23-24 school improvement committee, SIIP committee. Approval of 23-24 high school improvements committee, again, SCIP committee. Approval of 23-24 INRS team appointments. Approval of the 23-24 high school INRS team appointments. Approval of 23-24 school threat assessment appointments. Approval of 23-24 school threat assessment team, which includes Moonachie. Acceptance of resignation. Approval of the summer acceleration learning program. Approval of the coaching appointment, acceptance of resignation, approval of CSD meetings during summer hours, approval of personnel appointment, revision of the approval of reappointment of bus driver 23-24, approval of a higher degree status movement of personnel on salary guide 23-24, approval of student teacher classroom observation field experience internship, approval of appointment of school business administrator, Mr. Carl Morelli, approval of the high school sixth grade teaching stipends 23-24, approval of the intermediate school co-curricular appointment for 23-24 school year. Approval of our personnel appointments right in front of us, approval of appointment of substitute, approval of appointment of care personnel 23-24, approval of compensation for the completed task of the summer 23 curriculum writing, approval of the CE 6-period teaching stipends for 23-24, and then again for intermediate school 23-24. On to policy, we have approval of some policies and approval of regulations. On to buildings and grounds, we have approval of facility requests. On to finance, we have approval of bills list, approval of fundraiser, approval of a fundraiser which includes Moonachie. Board operations, we have approval of agreement with Williams Scotsman Incorporated for 1-year lease for modular unit at Doyle School. A renewal of food service management company, FCMC contract. We have approval of the enrollment of the Woodridge District in the Professional Development Schools Program, PDS, with Centenary University. I always get that wrong. Approval of 1-year agreement with Linkit for district-wide benchmark assessments and data storage 23-24 school year. Approval of the contract agreement between the Woodridge Administrators Association and Woodridge Board of Education. Approval to renew contracts with BCSS for hospital instruction for the 23-24 school year. Approval of the 23-24 Woodridge School District Mentoring Plan and SOA submission, and approval of the 23-24 Woodridge School District Professional Development Plan. Any comments or questions before I open it to the public on resolutions only? All right, I will open it up to the public on resolutions only. Please come up here and give me your name and address if you're going to speak. No. Seeing none, hearing none. I did ask Mr. Morelli. We had none that was submitted online either for this, so I will close this. Trustees, looking for your support, which does include Moonachie, the resolutions, curriculum and instruction, 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, personnel, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, and 27, policy 1 and 2, buildings and grounds 1, finance 1 and 2, board operations 2 through 8. Can I get a first? Mr. Fallon, Mr. O'Byrne, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Garvin,
Yes.
Mr. O'Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Nieves.
Trustees, looking for your support, which is Woodridge only curriculum and instruction 2, 3, 6, and 12. Personnel 1, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 17, 23, 24, 26, 28, 29. None for policy, none for buildings and grounds. Finance number 3 and board operations number 1. Looking for support. Mr. Garvin, second. Mr. Fallon, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Garvin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Nieves.
Yes. All right, trustees, thank you. Before I open up the hearing on citizens on anything they'd like to talk about, do we have anything for unfinished business? No, I think we're good.
Real quick, Mr. Nieves, as new business, seeing as there's 2 candidates coming up and there's 100% certainty there's going to be a new board member come
Mhm.
January, I'd like the board to explore an onboarding process if possible.
Yes.
If, even if we could have a board, or we're talking about a board workshop for those 2 candidates if they'd like to come by and learn a thing or 2.
Yes, I agree. I support that. I think the rest of the board also supports that. We'll have to put together a package. It'll be one of your ending gifts to us. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good idea. All right,
That's
so.
a very, very good idea, Mr. O'Byrne. Very good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was. All right. So before we get started, I open it up to the hearing of citizens. So Sylvia, well overdue, very, very excited. I think it was a no-brainer. So I'm glad to see you there. You know, Mark, your continued success. You're on here as well. Very, very happy, for you. Kelly, you're just now kind of finalizing it. So I know when we started this journey, right, we had, Tony come in. We had some changes. We knew that we still had a little ways to go, and I finally feel that we're at a point where we have the team that we need to make the progress that we're looking to make. We know there's no surprises. We know where we need to make those. So now we just need to be aggressive in going, after those. Sylvia, I don't know if you want to say anything or you just not on the spot. You're okay there? All right.
I would like to call.
Trustees, but Rich, you went already.
Well, since I didn't say it before, I'll say it now. Congratulations.
I am looking forward to working with you. I think we have an outstanding team in place, and congratulations.
I had my little ad lib before, so.
All right. Open it up to the hearing of citizens on anything you'd like to speak about. Anyone? Come on, Maureen.
Facing this way?
Yeah, no, you can turn it if you want, but
All right. Okay. Maureen Herman, 314 Innis Road. So I have to say this because I might be the only senior parent who's going to make this point, but I have some concerns about senior privilege and leaving the school grounds at 12:57. I feel that's very early. I understand that they're seniors. I understand that they've earned this time, but it's almost like a half day. Honestly, that's a half an hour longer than a half day, and they're going to have it all year long. And I know it's optional, but put yourself as a 17 or 18-year-old. All your friends are leaving. You're leaving too. Something that really I have a concern with are the students that are food insecure. They are not going to be getting lunch. They're going to see all their friends going. They're not going to want to be the ones stuck in the cafeteria while everyone else is gone. That concerns me, that we do have students that rely on school lunch for food. So I don't know if it's really fair to our food insecure students, and we don't want to single them out as well. Again, I know it's optional. It's great for students that have jobs. I get that. Not every student has a job. We don't really have resources. It's not like a work study where we're helping students find jobs. Like they're getting work study, they're getting credits, they're getting hours, whatever. As a parent of a teenager who has not had success finding a job, and sometimes needs a kick in the pants and a little motivation, I guess only my kid is the only one who's gonna be like not sitting home like, yay, I've got video games from 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock, honestly. So it's just, I'm concerned. I feel like it's very early. And honestly, it also feels to me like we're kind of blowing them off. Like, you're expendable. we've taught you everything that we can do. You can go now. We don't need you here now. You can leave the rest of the day. It feels that way to me. Like we couldn't find something. I know it's study hall. My oldest son had study hall last period and it was like, blow off. But I don't know. I just feel like I wish we could have found resources or creative resources, even if it was like a pass fail, something, some kind of skill, life skill, something that they could take with them at the end of the day. Like have lunch and then have a pass fail or something, coding, computery, I don't know. So I just feel I had to say that because it was bugging me when I saw how early that the dismissal was. Even my son, he was like, "You sure I don't get to stay for lunch?" I'm like, "No, you're out, you're done." So I just feel like it's early, and I know that my informal poll was like, "Oh, this is a great idea. My student's going to get so much done when they get home." My kid's not. My kid's going to stay home and play video games until he finds a job. Which
I'm sure he's
hopefully
not the only one that will be doing that.
I know, but nobody else, everyone else's kid is super motivated apparently. Anyway, so I just had to come and get that off my chest because I feel like I appreciate what we're doing. We're giving the seniors a privilege, but it's early. It's a lot of time. It's 12:57.
I mean, I'll be
feel like
honest,
it's a little early.
you're the first to provide feedback, and that doesn't mean neither good or bad. But we also have new administration here. So, I mean, I'm going to say, yep, if you want to.
Totally understand your concern. And from the school standpoint, so the last couple of years, we've had these seniors taking classes that they don't want, but they know they don't need. So you have seniors sitting in classes getting 20s and 30s. And they're disrupting the teacher and they're disrupting the students that want to be there. So last year, the year before that, we decided to do the study halls. What happened in the study hall? They're sleeping, they're not where they're supposed to be, and it was just causing a distraction. So what we decided to do was, since we are going back to a straight A, we decided to move up all their classes, again, optional. Their 7th period lunch, they're more than welcome to stay, they can leave, and then if they're in good academic standing, they do not need to come back for 8th period. We did, before the end of the school year, we did have a meeting with the juniors to discuss this. We told them to take advantage. We're offering internships. We are so happy to announce that we have a bunch of senior girls going down to Doyle, and we're bringing back the internship. We have one student that's going to be working in an internship in a hospital. So that was another thing we wanted to bring back was the internship. So totally understand your concerns, but we do want to make it work for the students. And that's why we are offering an internship. And if they want to stay in period, we can move their schedule where we can put them into culinary or business math or finance or one of those classes.
Because according to the Google form that came home, there was no option to stay for lunch. It's you leave after 6 or that's it. Your day's over. You either stay or you leave.
In the email, we did say that if we could give you an elective, but we did have a meeting with them saying, take advantage of internships. If you need help getting a job, we can help you get a job. But we were really pushing the internships, and we are so happy to bring back the program down at Doyle. And like you said, we have a bunch of other kids going to a hospital. We're trying to get somebody else into a pharmacy. So that's also other options as well.
And I know you told the students, and I get that, but I also did work with parents given any of the information as well.
Just an email that we sent home, just saying about the elective that it's optional and if you want to.
Okay.
But we can totally talk if you're interested.
Yeah, I just have concern for my unmotivated child tremendously, but he's gonna play Smash Bros. For
They'd have a fair share of students that didn't meet when it was optional last year for lunch, that pre-produced students that did take advantage of more.
That's my concern. I don't want to be the food insecure kid who's stuck in 3 people waiting for how you have to stay here. So and I have concerns about that. But I appreciate the feedback that they
Mr. Alvaro, also,
Thank you.
Mrs. Herman, your point regarding those who are insecure in terms of receiving food, very well taken. As Mrs. Ruiz mentioned, we've had seniors had the privilege to leave for lunch in a while, and it's something that we observe. All the points that I heard yourself make, as well as the administration make, were all valid points. As you're aware, we've changed our schedule of the building, and as Mrs. Ruiz pointed out, we had students sitting in the building last year wondering why they were in a class because they had all the credits they needed to graduate. They were accepted at the school of choice or their next trade school, et cetera. And that caused problems because they lost the grit and perseverance in some cases to do their work. And now we're having students exit the school with a less than stellar average in some areas when we know it wasn't from their best effort. Now, as a senior, there are so many different time demands on a schedule. I will, having heard you discuss with my administrators as well, the possibility, in senior year with with college applications, et cetera. When are you going to do that with a guidance counselor? You're going to leave a class to go do that. Now we have possibly the availability of time at the end of the day for that type of advisement.
That would be
Now, of course, it won't happen every day,
no.
but you're not going to miss a class, miss a lesson, miss a test because you need to do that. Now you have that time. And I think that through the course of this year, we'll take a close look at the advantages and disadvantages. And I do think it's something, at one point, our district had these academies. And in having the academies, you really didn't have a time to schedule when those students would go out into the field and practice what they've learned in the academy. So I think we're setting ourselves up now to expand what we can offer our students besides what's happening within the four walls of the building. So I do take your comments to heart, and it's something that I will follow with my administration. And like I said, as I sat here, I thought about listening to you, what else could these children do? That's a perfect opportunity to take care of some of those post-high school obligations because we'll have the staff here for it.
I agree. Thank you. I think that's what my concern is. It's like this, like, like even Ryan was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, we'll find something. So it was just more that, and I appreciate it. And I know that there's no answer to this because we've all been seniors in high school and we all know what it's like to be a senior and you're just like, ooh, I'm kind of done. I get that. But I guess as a parent of a senior now, I'm like, that little boost would be good. But I really do appreciate all the feedback and listening. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alba, maybe I misheard, but the students can still stay for lunch if they'd like to, right?
Yeah.
The student, okay, it's not.
Oh, yeah, they can stay. They definitely can stay, and we do have students that choose to stay.
Make sure they still have access to that, yeah.
Any other questions?
Bill Schweitzer, 270 North Avenue. I haven't been to a meeting in a while, but where are we at with construction?
Construction? You want to give? Give a whole. We're waiting for the question.
Mr. Schweitzer, I didn't think it would be you, but I had the answer in anticipation of the question. I reached out to Mr. Iwert, the borough administrator, for the official word on where we are. And he replied as follows. Number one, the RFQ process is complete. It has generated 5 bidders. Number two, the RFP process, not RFQ, RFP process is underway. Final submissions and bids are due in September. Work will begin in December to allow for use of playground and outdoor area this fall. The project timeline right now is 18 months. Work inside the existing building at Doyle will only occur over the summer and in other school breaks in 24 and 25, with the exception of the lift elevator at Doyle School outside of the multi-purpose room, which we're going to begin on as soon as possible after the bid is awarded, because right now we're not compliant with that. We're trying to get that fixed. And we will restore ADA access to the multi-purpose room without going outside. The new wing is slated to open in September of 2025. Detailed project schedule and phase milestones will be presented after all the bidding is complete.
Good to go. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Milano. I live at 316 Columbia Boulevard. My question is about personnel. It's maybe a few different items, but one, are we fully staffed for the upcoming year? And also, does that include the coverage for planned leaves that are coming up? And just to kind of maybe add on, my third part of that would be, you outlined some needs that we're deficient in right now. And do we have any plans to fill those needs that we have?
Okay, number one, from a staffing perspective, right now, all the leaves that we're aware of are filled. We're looking for a school psychologist. The resignations on this agenda happened during the weekend. We're looking for some part-time custodial staff. We're looking for an administrative assistant in our business office. All of our administrative positions have been filled. All of our teaching positions are filled. Now, history tells me that come the first day of school, after teachers have arrived, by right, they will inform me whether they anticipate a leave of some sort, which we then would have to have approved by the board and then have to advertise. But as compared to last year, we're in a far better place from a staffing perspective. Outside of the areas I illustrated to you, we are fully staffed. Now, I have to ask about your question regarding deficiencies. Are you referring to test scores? What is it exactly that you're referring to?
So your presentation highlighted that was some multi-language students, that there's going to be some needs upcoming. So almost like 25 or so children who are going to need a teacher, a classroom, resources. Has that been addressed, or do you have plans for that?
Yes, in the agenda this evening, we approved an additional full-time ML teacher, multilingual teacher, which we didn't have last year. We now have 2.5 staff members to serve the district. Part of the reason for having a modular at Doyle School is to relocate staff in order to build other classroom spaces. ESL or ML now becomes a population at Doyle that needs its own dedicated space. Supplies are taken care of. Now that the staff member has been approved, she'll have the opportunity to put in a requisition items that she feels comfortable with to get her program underway. And as I mentioned in the NJ GPA test scores, obviously we've seen a great deal of improvement in language arts. I think that's evidence of what we did last year after the first test. And math, although we've improved, we realize there's a variety of areas we have to look at. And as the school year gets underway and our teachers come back, it'll be all of us looking at data to find out where we can make those reparations to improve our program.
So the modular you have is going to include speech therapy, occupational therapy, and be the space needed for the ML students. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, nothing was submitted online, so I'm going to close the hearing of citizens. Trustees, before the school year, any comments before we go? We good?
I always look forward to this start of school year.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time for our students. It's an exciting time for our administrators and our teachers.
Yeah, I work from home. I
wish
love it
everybody
too.
well, I do.
I work from home. I love it too because I finally get, my kids have no concept of work from home. They just come
I'm
barging right
excited.
in.
40 years of teaching, and I'm excited about my first day of school.
All right, motion to adjourn. Mr. Fallon, Mr. Byrne, all in favor? Close tonight's hearing of citizens. Close tonight's session.